ladies and gentlemen. Changing the screen, changing the audio, spawning down here in the bottom position. He is BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top. Give it up for Zest. All right, so two players, two very different play styles here. Zest, he is a very crazy kind of guy. Recently, he has invented a couple of new strategies, especially in the PvZ matchup, where he just masses Void Rays and then gets that transition into an anti-Hydralisk army. It's been an interesting one because there has been certain situations where it's just really difficult to deal with, and it's really fun to watch here. BYUN, you know, he's one of those players who likes to get into your head very, very early on, and he loves to do that with an engineering bay. But Zest, already on top of things, just wants to make sure that that does not last very long. Even going to send a couple of probes down just to clean that up. This is one of BYUN's signature moves, something like that. He just loves to slow you down so that he can get that early game advantage because he just loves to kind of get into your head. Yeah, it is a best of 11. I'm going to try and fix that. I'll actually do that right now. Because BattleNet doesn't actually go up to doesn't go up to 11, so there we go. All right, so as this game starts to get underway, we do have Zest going to be going for this proxy Stargate. Don't worry, I got you. I got you. Now, BYUN has no idea that this is here. He mixed it by a couple of pixels on his scout. And that's a little bit risky for him because this is going to be a much faster Oracle than he's usually used to. And as I say that, he actually doubles back around. He has this little star sense when someone is cheesing. And now, one thing that's going to help him out quite tremendously is he is going for this Widowmine drop style. So that does keep you kind of safe versus the Oracle early on. And so he's just going to burrow those Widowmines, try and keep them in a good position. And we'll have to see what Zest does behind this, because one of the things that you can do is kind of transition into this Phoenix Colossus style, which is very powerful. And actually, yeah, there we go. The first Phoenix is going to be on the way as the Oracle, trying to kind of duck and weave, looking for the Widowmine, and he does find it with that revelation. So behind the Widowmine drop, he does want to start gearing up for a sort of push with the siege tanks, as he is only just now going to be setting up his natural. So a little bit delayed on that front to kind of get this rolling. He now needs to be pretty careful with where he decides to go with this. As actually he doesn't have the medevac coming out, so really these Widowmines are more for safety, I guess, as he kind of just powers up, gets a couple of additional units here. And we should be seeing the push probably around the time he's going to be trying to take his third base expansion, as Zest is going to be heading up to that as quickly as possible with the transition into Twilight Council. All right, so far not really too much else going on here. Zest just looking for a couple of easy pickoffs. Now going to be going in, trying to get a couple of SCV kills, slow down BYUN wherever he can. And I mean, from here, there's not really too much else that Zest wants to be doing. We do see that he's still kind of pumping out a couple of additional Phoenix, but really this is just a kind of build up in the background we should be seeing once that third base is kind of up and mining for the full. He just wants to start kind of getting that gateway explosion and powering up this army, getting that additional tech. We should be seeing a robo facility go down soon as well. But yeah, BYUN's kind of just hanging out in his base, not really doing too much else. We don't see a third. We don't see any additional racks that would indicate a 2-base all-in. He's kind of just content to stay in his base to keep it, to keep safe. And I gotta say, that's really unlike BYUN. The best way for BYUN to stay safe, in his mind usually, is to go on the attack and just keep the pressure on, force those defensive warp-ins so that the Protoss can't really respond with any sort of counterplay. Now, Zest's going to get a lot of these reinforcements. That's kind of the big deal with these Phoenix, as BYUN's going to be finally moving across the map. I hope it's not too late for him here, as there will be plenty of Archons, plenty of Zealot charge, etc., etc. But, yeah, he's got to find a good position to kind of set up shop. And with those Phoenix flying around, it's kind of difficult to find that good position, especially since you only have one siege tank. And yep, this is best of 11, all matches played. So even if we hit 6 wins, it's a cash prize per map. So there is no stopping the action for any reason. All right, now we have this huge Zealot run by, going to be going towards the natural, probably looking for a third base as well. Which, by the way, BYUN does have. It's just not on location. And now the Widow Mines, kind of left to their own devices, will get taken down as well. That's a pretty nice pickoff here because we don't really see BYUN making too much more. He's only got 2 on the production tab. No additional factory to kind of help keep that going up. And, I mean, from here, he's just playing it way too defensively. Zest now going to be going up to his 4th base here as we see the probe coming out. And he's not really done anything to stop him. In this kind of situation, Zest can win the game all day. Trying to let the players speak for themselves here with their aggressive power. Emma, don't worry, we will be getting the action once it starts up. And yeah, here we go. BYUN finally going to be hitting that first stim. The Zealots in front, trying to get connections, but Zest trying to stay back. The shield battery is already popped. So now, Zest feels like he has enough. The Phoenix all start to die, but the Widow Mines did more damage to BYUN's army than it did to Zest. So now, BYUN finally below 100 supply. The third base is just going to get lifted up, and I think from here, Zest is just going to start that snowball. But you know, he's actually going to go back home. I don't think that's the best option here. BYUN, he's known for his amazing holds, but even he can't stop it when there is over 60 supply difference. I kind of think that Zest could have cleaned him up if he would have just kept going there. Now BYUN has to respond, and this is kind of the thing. He hasn't really done any damage whatsoever, so now he's playing catch-up. Look at that, he doesn't even have his third base mining. He's only on 46 workers, and I mean, he hasn't really lost any SCVs either. Taking a look at this units lost tab, only 4 to the Phoenix. So that's more BYUN not going for the economic game, and that's kind of hurting him now in the late game. Okay, getting the cybernetic score would be pretty alright. At this stage, just kind of any pickoff that you can get would be okay for BYUN. Now he has kind of recovered a little bit, but he's still only on about 163 supply. So just kind of just waiting for that power up. And now that Zest is completely maxed out, this is kind of the point where he just wants to get this death ball rolling. As BYUN's just going to be taking down that Stargate, but yeah, we'll have to see, as most of BYUN's army is actually out of position here. So Zest is going to be able to just jump up into the natural pretty darn easily. A couple of Wood Mine connections going to help out against the Zealots, but there's more where that came from. War Prism going to be coming in, and here we go. EMP's landing on top of the Zealots, but you want to get on top of those Juicy Archons. Doesn't even matter. Zest taking game number 1 in very convincing fashion there. I don't even really think that was all Zest. I think that was just a couple of different mistakes on BYUN's part, to be completely honest. He just kind of played it a little bit too slowly. And he was always just playing catch up. That's kind of one of BYUN's things, is he does like going for the early to mid game. And sometimes he does kind of sacrifice those late game situations. But unfortunately for his style, one of the bigger things is you have to do damage. You have to be out on the map if you want to make that work. And he just wasn't really able to do so here. We'll have to see if he can do so on one of his more favorite maps. We all live in a yellow one of these. It is Submarine. Yeah, the Phoenix mine onto BYUN was just way too good. I mean, like, that's the problem with Widow Mines. They are very, very good at what they do, but unfortunately they do splash. So it's like, I guess the Protoss equivalent is when you shoot a disruptor ball and all your Zealots collapse. But we do have a little bit of a shorter map here. We got a smaller rush distance. We'll have to see how these players can kind of react to that. So let's introduce them down in the bottom position. He is our Red Terran Phenomenon. He is BYUN. And up here, if stats is the shield, this guy is the sword. It is Zest. Okay. So we do see Zest going for a little bit of a scouting position right now. He just wants to get a little bit more information, make sure all of the buildings are where they're supposed to be in BYUN's base. And I mean, you know, BYUN does have a couple of options open to him. He has created a couple of strategies for that kind of early game, and we do see he's going to be going for a more tech-oriented build, getting that factory up nice and quickly with the double gas. So that's just going to allow him to kind of power up a lot quicker. Oh, excuse me. Wrong button. Thank you guys. Make sure you keep me honest here. Sometimes I hit the wrong button with what I hit. But anyway, yep, we got that factory coming up. It's not going to be Hellions. That's one thing that BYUN has been using recently, is kind of going for that more Hellion-oriented style, which is very kind of very good against Protoss who don't go for the wall-in. And I mean, versus Terran, the wall-in's a very scary thing. Because if you go for a wall and he's going for some sort of siege tank pressure, especially on a map where you do have these nice siege tank locations so close to the natural, it just becomes very difficult to defend your tech structures in the wall. Now, Zest is going to be aggressive as well. We do have that Twilight Council coming down, so a good chance that we're going to be seeing Blink come out of that. I mean, from here, let's see what BYUN decides to do. The Adept going to be getting into the main base. Actually going to save the Reaper as well, so might be able to get in there and get a couple of cheeky probe kills if he decides to dive on in. Yeah, look at that. He's got 3 Reapers in this Hellion, so that should be enough to kind of get those shots off. Now, Stalker's actually going to go down here. BYUN just going to trade out some of these Reapers to the KDA charge, only hitting himself there, actually. But now is kind of BYUN's moment to dive in. It takes 3 shots to kill off a probe, but the Reaper has just a little bit more damage output. But, you know, he's playing it very safe. He doesn't want to lose them prematurely. There we go. They go straight for the main base. One of the Hellions does go down, so the probes should just be able to get that. Reaper going to get a little bit of information. He sees the blink. Honestly, back at home, he's actually pretty safe because he does have the siege tanks morphing on in. So if Zest decides to go across the map, he's not going to get that much damage done. One thing I've noticed about Zest, he's a little bit over-eager to blink into the main base, and that has kind of hurt him in the past versus BYUN, as he would just lose all these stalkers for almost free. All right, he's hunting for anything that he can find. A good spread on these stalkers, just looking for any sort of army move out, it looks like. Kind of interesting positions as well. He's looking for the medevacs, I'd imagine. But, yeah, from here, both sides kind of just powering up. We should be seeing that third base coming down here for BYUN pretty darn soon. I don't imagine that he's going to be going for a 2-base all-in off the back of this. We would see those additional racks come in if that were the case. But, yeah, Zest just got this little bit of a hit squad waiting for the move out. He wants to get some pickoffs if BYUN decides to go. But, see, this is the kind of thing. Sometimes when BYUN decides to go for the late game, he does play it a little bit more passively and rely on his macro. But in this situation, I'm kind of interested in the fact that he's not being more aggressive. We have seen that kind of little shift with a couple of different Terran players going from these early proxy gamers like Maru into kind of focusing on the late game. But I just don't see that in BYUN that often, so... let's see. As he's going to be moving out, he's got quite a formidable army. Zest, however, does have a little bit more in terms of those zealots. Charge has been complete. as well. So we'll have to see how much he can get done. Scan going down, revealing where he wants to go. And now these Stalkers kind of just forcing the slow warp up, or a siege up rather. Trying to pick off the reinforcements as well. And BYUN's just going to go home. Very interesting. All right. Looks like BYUN might be waiting for his third base to finish. I feel like the longer he waits, though, the more powerful Zest gets. Just taking a look at that army supply lead, Zest has been ahead for quite a bit. Now the Stalkers still trying to get those pickoffs. They would love to get a juicy tank connection there. But BYUN way too quick for him. Going to just take down as many of those Stalkers as possible. Great. Great pickoffs there. But still, there's so many Zealots. They're going to get right on top of the bio here pretty quickly. And here we go. Zest is trying to find a little location there. The Dorito Cannon is going to go down. However, a lot of those Zealots are now blanketed in the goo. So that is really going to slow down any sort of attack here. Zest just going to dive right on top of this. However, the siege tanks getting some okay connections, but in the end, BYUN will be forced back. The reinforcements going to do what they can to kind of salvage the situation. But we still have those 3 Immortals. Still quite a healthy army count for Zest as well. So BYUN just going to go home. I can't say with his tail between his legs, because he did trade out semi-efficiently, which does mean that Zest can't kind of counter. But I digress on that situation, as BYUN just going to be keeping the action going. We have that little parade of red coming across the map. So he's just going to keep this going, try and get the trades that he needs to keep this going. Already going to get some of those Stalkers. The Widowmines going to get some connections on top of the Zealots, but there are still more kind of hanging out in the back of Zest army. So once again, BYUN just waiting for the reinforcements. It gives Zest time to keep himself. He has taken the army supply lead for the first time in forever. But yeah, I'm kind of worried that he's still just a little bit slower than we've seen out of BYUN in the past. Now, due to see that transition into High Templars, we didn't have Storm last game. I think Zest has kind of been just saying Storm, while good, it's not going to be great versus a player known for his micro, so he's just been focusing on the Archon transition. I mean, from here, BYUN's still getting a lot of good pickoffs, and that's kind of the thing that's keeping him there. He's getting rid of a lot of those Stalkers. The Widowmine's taking down a lot of the Zealots during these engagements. But it's just not enough to kind of push the issue home and finish things off. He is still out on the map, though, which I really like. Any sort of move out from Zest is going to be caught. But all right, though, there we go. The Observer going down, just trying to keep the Widowmines as safe as possible. He's going to go towards the third base once again, kind of just posture in a little bit of a choke point. He wants to kind of keep the Zealots off his army as much as possible. A couple of EMPs going down all over the Archon, so they are a little bit weaker for the fight. BYUN just going to try and bait him forward into the Widowmines, but Zest just going to be able to push this back once again. Good kiting here from BYUN. Going to take down most of the Zealots, but the good meat of this army is still around. Another good EMP, just trying to do what he can. Widowmine almost got the War Prism. That would have been painful. But I mean, from here, BYUN's not done. And this is kind of the thing. Death by 1,000 cuts is usually his way of seeing things. He wants to kind of clean you up as quickly as possible. But he is more than content to do that kind of slowly as slowly sometimes. But really, he hasn't been able to get on top of these hard-hitting splash units. The Immortal count, still very healthy. Archons, getting a lot of splash in. And that's kind of the thing that's keeping him back. Finally going to get one of those Immortals. But on the fighting retreat, the Widowmines now finally getting some good connections. The Immortal really weak. If BYUN wants to dive on top of that, that would be fantastic for him. But yeah, now Zest actually starting to fall behind in terms of that supply, and this is where BYUN starts to kind of be a very big hassle for him. But still, I would like to see BYUN, you know, be a little bit more proactive. Send a drop or two around the map. It doesn't even have to be that committed. Just about 8 Marines would be perfect to kind of pick off some of those probes and kind of force Zest to stay home. We do see the Stalkers trying to get some trade-out connections as well. They're not going to get on top of the Marauders or the Ghosts, which are going to be the keys to this attack. Oh, Zest is gearing up, though, for the 360 surround, and BYUN kind of sensing the trap is going to retreat into the one angle that he's not covered from. Widowmine's going to get some good connections on the Zealots once again, but Zest is starting to look for the kill. Going to chase down the army with the Stalkers while the main crux of his force goes towards the third. And I mean, from here, BYUN's going to be a little bit divided in his attention. Scan going to go down. Zest actually just going to back on up, setting up the trap once again for this fight. A couple of Vikings, but there actually hasn't been a Colossus transition. Good EMPs. He wants to fight in these choke points just so that he can minimize the Zealot spread. War Prism does go down. That's kind of what Zest was waiting for in that attack. But now we see BYUN just kind of baiting him back into this very narrow choke point. The Immortals, though, are going to be enough to help push this. And actually, Zest's supply starting to falter here. If we take a look at that army count, we see that huge dip. And that's where BYUN likes to play, in the dip. Zealots still going to be able to get on top of this, but huge Widowmine connection is going to take them all out. And now there is nothing keeping BYUN from the real meat of this army. The Immortals going to start to fall as BYUN focus fires them down, and GG is called. And that is how BYUN likes. That is how BYUN likes it. Death by 1,000 cuts. It did take him a little bit longer than we have seen in the past, but you know what? That is still a very, very good trade for him in the last couple of seconds. So that does mean that we are tied up, and still a lot of games left to go. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There is a cash prize per map. So all 11 games are going to be cast. Yeah, the gateway style can be pretty difficult to deal with, especially when you're getting into those late game fights. Plenty of EMP action, just so much bio. We do see BYUN. He does like to kind of skip certain things that you would normally see in some Terrans, like Vikings. So with that, he just has a lot more on the ground, and he's able to get those He's able to get those much better fights versus the gateway units. The replays, yes, they're actually on our Matcherino page. All right, so we are going to be going into a bit of a larger map this time. By the way, guys, make sure you check out down below. We got that raid Shadow Legends going on. They have sponsored this event, and really nice of them too. And all they ask is we get 30 players to level 10. Find out what 15 million players have already found out, and check it out for yourself using the code in the chat. But you know what? We have another amazing game coming on up. So let's introduce these players spawning in the bottom position of Jaganantha. He is BYUN. And his opponent. Up here in the top, it is Zest. I think you guys are making a pretty good point in the chat about BYUN's wrist being one of the reasons that he's a little bit less aggressive, and kind of going for the slower game, where he's not really focusing too much on the medevac drops, just going for the nice big fights. It's because he has that little bit of a wrist issue. And we have seen that with Maru kind of transition a little bit as well into a later stage player, just very defensive. Kind of just trying to keep the action to a little bit of a minimum. And yeah, trying to win it in the fights rather than going around. But we do see him actually going to be going for a Reaper this game for a little bit more scouting information. He tried to get his SCV across the map to stop the Nexus, but it did not work. So from here, we're pretty much nothing too crazy just yet. Once these guys, once these guys start to get a little bit more tired, though, that could start to change. That's usually when you see players cheese the most. Is when it's been a very long day. These guys just played in the ESL Open Cup for a couple of additional points, so it's a little bit tricky for them. They are starting to feel the burn, and we will be seeing them make some small mistakes at some point. I'm calling it here. But the Zest does have his transition coming up, the Twilight Council once again. We'll have to see if that's for Blink or if he's going to be going for any sort of DT play. I have seen him do Adepts versus Terran as well, which would be pretty interesting. That would be I think Solar actually won it today. The reason I say that, I'm looking at his match history, and he did lose 3-2 to Solar. Or was it 3-1? Okay. I think Galac's a little bit wrong in that case. Just once again getting that early third base up and mining, and that's kind of one of his very powerful things, is that he does like to go for that quick 3 base to kind of get the power up early. And that's really one of the only things that you can do with the gateway style, you do need to kind of have that economy behind it because you're consistently going to be trading out your units, and like that just costs a lot for Protoss players. Zealots obviously double the cost of a Marine, and Stalkers and such, which are very important in the backfield, are pretty expensive as well. I think it's like 125 and 50. Hellion's still kind of dancing around as well. That's some pretty good information here. He's going to see what kind of units are coming out here. He does see the sentries. It looks like he's going to go for a little bit of a Raven pressure. So Zest once again is just kind of spreading out his units. Look at this vision on his side. The Stalkers just trying to find any kind of pickoffs that they can. And they will get full view of the army moving across the map. And this isn't super committed out of BYUN, as it may seem. And the reason I say that is because there's no siege tanks, so he's not going to siege up any locations. He's just going to try and trade out as efficiently as possible versus Zest's army. Actually, it looks like he's just going to kind of go home now that he's been found out. Yeah, there you go. He's going to wait for the medevacs. Stim is complete. +1 will be finished by the time the fight really begins. He just kind of has to get away from the Stalkers if he wants to make this work, because they're getting really nice pickoffs, making it even more difficult for BYUN to move across the map. Still finding his way into the main base. This is the BYUN we know and love. Just getting a little bit of harassment damage here and there, forcing the defensive warp-ins so that BYUN's army can move across. The reinforcement's going to be coming in as well. The Immortal going to get picked off, denied. He still has a couple of Guardian Shields here, so he is going to retreat back to his Widowmine wall. Forcement's going to be going down, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's more... I mean, that's going to give BYUN time to get his reinforcements with the push, and they have arrived, so not that much force field energy left. It looks like Zest just wants to go and pick off some of those reinforcements, force BYUN to come on home while the Stalkers try and defend, but yeah, I don't know, as BYUN already sniffed this out, so he is already going to be chasing down this army. The reinforcements back at home for BYUN are going to be enough as we fight in the acceleration zone. So speedy boys coming on down. The Zealots still on top. They're still getting some okay connections with their charge, but they're starting to fall in number. And now this is where BYUN likes to play. Oh, little bit too early on the blink for that second Widowmine. But yeah, this is where BYUN loves to kind of stick around in. Just a point where he starts to pick off your army. He gets those okay connections, but he can kind of reinforce a little bit easier than you. I mean, Zest down over 30 army supply here. He is paying attention, so he's not going to lose too many of his probes. We will lose the medevac as well. Small Zealot run by. Got to get cleaned up. But Zest, he's down below 100 supply. And I don't know. This is just really a scary situation for him. He doesn't really have any additional tech, only just now throwing down the Robo Bay to kind of go up to Colossus. But I don't think BYUN's going to give him that amount of time. He has smelled blood in the water. Just trying to keep BYUN at home for as long as possible, and honestly, it's working. It kind of seems like BYUN's a little bit worried here as he kind of slowed down his push. But he has no reason to be. 102 to 64 army supply. Stalkers in the front trying to do what they can. The shield battery has been popped, but that's just going to go down. And now Guardian Shield, the one thing going to be stopping Zest from taking all the damage. But as the sentries start to fall, the Zealots not able to get good connections as the force field actually stopping them from doing so. And BYUN just keeps retreating back to the Widow Mines. Yeah, even going to get the Observers, so they have a lot more oomph to them, taking down the Immortals, and it looks like BYUN just going to keep forcing his way through. I don't know how Zest can really hold on to this. He needs to wait for those Colossus before he engages again. But again, just taking a look at the upgrades as well. It's pretty even, but BYUN's about to get that +1 armor, so his units are going to be even more tanky. And Zest just kind of relying on the force fields here. Oh, he could actually get the Cybernetics score. All right, so no more Stalkers are going to be on the way. The Widowmine, it looks like BYUN is actually just going to go straight for the main base. Zest not expecting this. The Colossus, though, is still alive. The Zealot Warp in, going to get on top of this, but the Widowmines going to get the connections they need. BYUN, known for his pickoffs, he's just going to dive right on top of that Colossus. That will fall, and now he might need to pick up and get out of there, but he's just going to fight this. With another warp in, I think Zest can finally kind of clean this up. But he has taken so much damage. He still has no AoE anymore. Losing all those Colossus, only one left, and you can kind of see him, see the light go from his eyes. GG is called, and BYUN takes the lead. Yeah, 50 Zealots can be pretty good if your opponent has way too much bio, but with BYUN's kiting, he always kind of sets up those Widow Mines behind his army and just baits you in. So when the Zealots do kind of charge into you, they get taken down way too easily. So yeah, 50 Zealots not going to be the best in that situation. Lee, reaching level 10. Thank you for helping us out. See what Into the Innu is talking about here, and all right, it's going to be Zest's map choice for this map. I have to press the battlefield. I'm copy pasting as fast as I can with this Korean chat. He's just trying to figure out. So we've already played Pillars of Gold, Submarine, and Jagannatha. So he still has Romanticide, Light, Death, and Oxide left. The maps will reset after 7, so if he wants to go back to any of them, he's going to be able to. But until then, to see what he decides to choose, and I'm kind of just waiting for the choice. Looks like he has chosen Death Aura as his next battlefield. Yep, it is currently 2-1 in BYUN's favor, but again, it's a long series. Anything can happen. Yep, have a good day, Sniper. Time for mech, I'd say. Unfortunately, I don't think mech is actually in BYUN's repertoire. Not to say that that's a bad thing. He's known for his very aggressive bio style. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you know, as he's having, sometimes he does do a little bit out of the ordinary, and if he does add mech, I think that would be pretty cool. But I digress. We're going to be hopping into game number 4 here, spawning in the top position of Death Aura. He is our red Terran player, BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, give it up for the blue Protoss, Zest. Nope, this is not the EU Weekly. This is the Super Series number 42. Best of 11. All matches played with BYUN and Zest. One of the good things about this being a KR kind of thing is obviously BattleNet's been having a couple of issues recently with the EU and NA server. And I remember I was actually doing a show match just literally yesterday before ITaX Super Series number 41. And we couldn't even get a game started with Game Heart. And then once we got the lobbies going, it was pretty much a kind of whack-a-mole to try and get the games going. But luckily, KR has kind of stayed steady and true. Looks like BYUN wanted to get a little bit of scouting information early on, so he sees the Nexus going down. And from here, he has skipped the Reaper and the Marine to get out that very fast reactor, which does mean to me he might be throwing down the second. Never mind. He's going straight to factory. And yeah, I'd say this is pretty aggressive. One of his more aggressive styles, because this is going to allow him to kind of pump out quite a few units early on and move across the map before Zest is really ready. Now, once again, it is Twilight Council. That's kind of Zest's bread and butter versus BYUN. He likes to go for that early because even if he doesn't decide to be aggressive with it, it just keeps him pretty safe against BYUN's attacks. But looking at this, looks like he's just going to go for the Stalker at the top of the map. Yeah, I'd say about 2-ish hours. We're about maybe 40 minutes in. We've been live for an hour and 10 with a 15-minute start timer. So, yeah, about 2-ish, maybe 2.5-ish hours, depending on how long these games go. All right. So Zest kind of powering up here with the additional gateways. And what that kind of tells me is that this is not just that kind of defensive blink timing, as we do have that Warp Prism as well. We're going to be coming in. BYUN, he hasn't really caught wind of anything. He hasn't been in the main base to kind of scout around for any sort of Twilight Council. But there is the chance that he kind of saw the first couple of Stalkers and knows what's up. And he kind of can read Zest a little bit because these two do play so much. I think this is kind of the favorite matchup for Sushi to kind of invite them to. So they play a lot in our show match series a lot. Looks like a small Widow Mine drop going to get a little bit of damage done, but not that much. And there's actually no splash for BYUN right now, so this is going to be a little bit difficult to deal with. Auto turret going to be dropped almost instantly to do what it can. He just wants to buy time for that first siege tank to come out. A little bit of funky Warp Prism Micro as well. We do have that medevac still with the Widow Mines just waiting to pop on in. But now Zest's going to be rotating between the main and the natural right outside. So we'll have to see what he's going to be doing there. It's kind of just a soft contain at this point. As the siege tank count is going to start to rise, it's going to be even more difficult for Zest to get in and do any sort of damage. The Widow Mines do get caught, but they're not really going to get that much damage done either. And the Warp Prism, kind of wondering what that's doing. All right, so Zest, he's pretty much done all he can with this. And so now he's going to just go for this bit of a soft contain. I really don't think it's a good idea to kind of try anything else. We do see that he's going to go with the Stalkers into the main base, just try and get a little bit done here. But BYUN does have enough to kind of push this back and still have enough at the front to keep Zest a little too unhappy. Oh no, Zest. I really don't think you should do this, man. I don't. All right, yeah, that's what I thought. Luckily for him, he doesn't go in there. But you know, now we see he has kind of changed it up a little bit. He's going for a much faster Colossus transition, and what that's going to allow him to do is get that splash nice and early, and you know, with that kind of try and take down the very heavy bio style of BYUN. But I digress on that point. Now we're going to be seeing BYUN's first big move out. Looks like he's loading up that medevac to go for a little bit of a double prong here. And actually it looks like the units are just going to be kind of securing the third. Oh no, this has been spotted. Zest, though, not paying attention, going to take a very huge hit to the face. So now both players, once again, kind of just powering up. Additional gateways coming in. Templar Archive transition into High Templars. We'll have to see if he does decide to go for a Storm, because as I said in a previous game, he doesn't really want to rely on that, because he does know that BYUN's pretty good at keeping his army out from underneath the weather. And yeah, nothing really too much else to say here. There's a lot of siege tanks, I gotta say. Sorry about that. I had a like a pretty big cough session there, so that's why I kind of muted for that fight. But that was still a pretty fun, still a pretty good fight. I didn't want you guys to miss it. Now Zest's going to try and get on top of this army once again. The Zealot count just not high enough. The siege tanks did get some pretty nice connections, and the SCVs, while they do get taken down, they did get some good buffering on in there. But now BYUN going to be coming in once again with that. Unfortunately, though, he just really doesn't have a ton of supply here. The EMPs all over the Archons as well. Good juggles. But, yeah, as the Archons fall, the Stalkers are all that's left. And the Vikings going to be able to clean it up. Although he did lose quite a few SCVs, it's just not really enough. GG is called, and BYUN extending his lead by another game. Excuse me. Now BYUN up additional 2 games. We'll have to see if Zest is going to start bringing out some more cheeky shenanigans. As we've kind of seen, first game, he did go for that proxy Stargate where he was able he wasn't really able to get a ton of damage done, but he was just able to keep BYUN back a little bit more. And once we get into the kind of stage where BYUN's all powered up, we've seen Zest kind of struggle. So I think at this point you just really can't rely on the straight up game, and instead you're gonna have to go for a little bit crazier stuff. Let us see what he's got. All right, Oxide. Yeah, definitely tired and sleepy is one of the best ways to kind of describe it. These players have been playing for quite a bit with the ESL Pro Cup as well. But, you know what, I digress on that. We are going to be hopping into game number 5. So without further ado, spawning in the bottom corner of Oxide LE. Give it up for this legend. He is BYUN. And up here in the top, he might not be the shield of ire, but he is the sword. Give it up for Zest. And don't forget, guys, if you want to help out these players even more, you can check out the Matcherino page. Just type in !Matcherino in the chat. That'll take you to the page where you can add an additional 50 cents to the prize pool for absolutely free, with a bunch of other great ways to help out, including some sponsor quests. Just there on the side. Really helps out and shows the people that you love StarCraft 2 and you want to see even more amazing series like this one. So from here, BYUN did go for the Marine first. Kind of one of the things that he's been deciding recently, or not even just recently, just overall, is that a Reaper, while good for getting some early game scouting information, not really going to see too much. Especially in TVP, where there are adepts kind of going around. It's just a really big strain, not just on your wrist, but taxes your micro when it would be better served being back at home, essentially. stats is the Shield Devour. And King Killer is a pretty good one. I might have to use that for him. Okay, so I'm going to get that first a little Hellion, which is going to be good for kind of moving around, kind of getting information on that third base. He did delay Zest, that is, BYUN's natural. But behind this, it does look like it's going to be going into Widowmine drops once he gets on supply blocked. And there you go. I would actually kind of like to see him add in the Marines with this. Once he gets the, if you add in the Marines, what you can really do is a couple of, you know, sneaky plays. You can drop the Widowmine, like right here, and then drop the Marines over here, of kind of forcing the probes straight into Widowmine line of fire. And that's one of the things that BYUN likes to do. He likes to go for the unexpected plays, I would almost imagine. I have no fear. There is still a lot of StarCraft 2 left to play, so if you are a Zest fan, you know, he still has a lot of different options here in how he wants to do this. We do have the Widowmine going to be moving across the map soon. Actually, he canceled the Widowmine, or excuse me, the medevac. Interesting. Okay, so instead going to be going for the Raven. Zest obviously getting blinked once again very early on. I love this. This is kind of one of the most annoying Widowmines to deal with because I don't think you see it on time. But unfortunately, BYUN moves it at the inopportune moment. While the Raven's going to be coming in, trying to get a little bit of work done as well. Gets one. You know, I feel like the funniest thing would be if this kind of Raven harassment was around during the time when Raven auto turret lasted for about 2 minutes. I feel like that would be the most annoying thing to deal with. Yeah, nothing too much else to say about this. Zest once again has that third base up and mining a lot faster than BYUN's. We have seen BYUN kind of delay that for a little bit of time. Now going to be going for a very big drop. Unfortunately, though, this was spotted by Zest. And now it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get in. It was around. Okay. I wasn't around during that time, so well, I didn't know that. The rest of Zest's army is actually a little bit out of position here. As we see a small little War Prism drop going to be coming in, but Zest knows that he's not going to get too much. BYUN's army, pretty darn scary right now if we just take a look at some of that graph. Now that was a little bit of a over-eager stim or blink there. He did lose quite a few of those stalkers to the stim bio, but now BYUN trying to get the War Prism, but he just doesn't have enough to do so. He is going to reinforce his army over here, but Zest on the warpath right now with once again never mind, he's just going to go back home. The Raven once again going to be coming in here with the auto turret. And I mean, BYUN, he's back to the drop play, which did do him well on Death Aura. But at the same time, Zest is a little bit more ahead than he was in the last time. And by that I mean he is going for gateway style once again. And actually he's going to force a huge warp in the main base and a recall. The little cheeky zealots. Gonna just stop that as we go up to Robo Bay. Oh my goodness, that would be the worst thing, to lose the warpism to the mines. Would be even worse if you lost it to the Marines there. Now again, there's no Colossus, and again there are 2 Colossus. BYUN might want to just dive on top of those. He's got the Widow Mines in the back to help with the retreat. Not going to engage into this, it looks like. Just really content to kind of lure Zest into a trap of dealing with these Widow Mines. But here we go, another big drop going to be coming up. There is no recall with this. Huge Zealot run by, though, going to catch a lot of these reinforcements. So the rest do have to go home. Stalkers and Zealots are going to be in position as well. So BYUN, again, he's trying to get the damage done. I got to give him respect for that. He's trying to make those big plays, but at the same time, he's not overcommitting himself to the point where he's just going to lose those units for free. And so from here, I mean, from here he's got to be careful, because a lot of his army is in those medevacs, so it's not going to be at home. And Zest just going to be going for this big move out. Okay, Liberators. Haven't seen those in a while. But yeah, we just see this big move out of Zest. Where is the Warp Prism with this? There we go. He's just waiting for that before he really pulls the trigger. But yeah, I mean, really this is going to be one of BYUN's only opportunities here, because there's not going to be any defensive Warpins. There's only Stalkers at home. And it looks like he's going to be going for the surround here, 360, but the backside is a little bit delayed. The Warp Prism does go down, so no reinforcements with this, but Zest, with an overwhelming supply lead, is just going to clean up a lot of those medevacs. Now, Widow Mines don't even have the time to burrow. They're going to get whatever connection they can, but BYUN starting to fall in supply, and there you have it. Zest gets the tap out, and he claws his way back into this series. We have 2 maps left before it resets. This is actually best of 11, Allen 168, and all maps are going to be played. So still a lot of StarCraft to go. Let's see. Basically, the point of playing is because it is cash prize per map. So it's not just the if you win, you get the cash out. Pretty fun, a pretty cool way to do it. Like, especially since we don't have any other players today. So that's kind of the reason we're doing it. We want to make sure that we put on a bit of a longer show for you guys. I know you because I know you guys love watching StarCraft too. If you're just coming from the ESL Pro Cup, welcome, welcome. All right. Oh my goodness, cash prize per unit killed. I think we would go a little bit broke there, unless it was like 0.0001 cent per unit killed. But anyway, guys, we are hopping into game number 6, spawning down in the bottom position in the red trunks. It is this guy, BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top in the blue, he is Zest. All right, so it's mostly been Zest who has kind of been mixing it up a little bit. Obviously, he's been going for Twilight Council in all of his games, but he did kind of mix it up with his transitions a little bit more in terms of going for this faster Colossus, the Stargate play in game number 1. But here on Lightshade, let's see what he does, because this is one of those maps where there's not a ton of early attack paths. It does take a little bit to kind of break down the rocks and open up a couple of better opportunities for you. Looks like BYUN was going for the engineering bay block once again, as is his right. But yeah, from here, he actually is going to be going for some scouting information early on. He wants to kind of get that early information to kind of see if it's Twilight Council once again, and maybe even get a cheeky pickoff here if he's lucky. Yep, there you have it, Twilight Council once again. And Chance, I would love to see DTs come out in this game. That would be really fun. The problem with that, though, is BYUN has been going for the Raven in a good chunk of his games, so that's a little bit harder to make work. But actually, I love this. BYUN is going to be going for a very risky economic play here with this additional third CC. And what that means for him, if this works and Zest doesn't play too aggressively, he's just going to get up to that very heavy War Machine 3-base Terran. And, you know, the trade-off for that is that he is going to be going for the 3 racks behind it, which isn't the best versus Blink, I got to say. Because, you know, Blink is one of those more aggressive openings. And there's not going to be really any splash. You're stuck kind of with primarily Marines for the defense. So it's kind of just hold on until stim. Nope. Denied. So yeah, this is really Zest's big chance to kind of catch BYUN out. We do have one Marauder, but that's not really going to be enough if Zest kind of pulls the trigger here, and he does have the Warp Prism going straight for the main base, I believe. Actually, where is that Warp Prism? Man, people are canceling things all over the place. Like, never mind, there it is. All right, here we go, BYUN. He's in position, so he kind of understands that this is most likely Blink because the Reaper did get in. Factory, again, going to be pretty darn late. The SCVs pulled to repair. They are going to be able to get that off. He's going to focus fire down the SCVs instead. Decent damage so far and not really losing any of the stalkers, which is going to be the most important part here. But there we go. The force field's actually going to be enough to clean up that first bunker. Stim, though, is complete, so Zest's time is kind of over as he's going to get chased on down. Tries to use the Warp Prism to clean up as many of them as possible. Keep in mind, though, there is no healing with this army. So for every single stim, these units are going to get weaker and weaker. And Zest is getting the trades that he needs. I feel like BYUN might be overextending a little bit with how far out he's going. Now the Marauders, though, still doing plenty of work in the back. Now finally starting to clean up a lot of these. But some good Warp Prism micro going to save a good chunk of them. And now BYUN doesn't really have anything at home. He's got 2 Marauders and a couple of Marines. So unfortunately, like, I think the economic build kind of hurt him quite a bit. Now that's not to say that he can't hold here. It's just going to be a very dicey time for him. He's going to lose quite a few SCVs as he needs to keep them pulled if he wants to keep this game going. Stalker count, though, starting to get pretty darn low. And now if BYUN can hold on here, he is going to have those mules to kind of keep his economy going. You two, slackers, get back to work. Don't you know that there's a war going on? All right, the medevacs are going to be coming out here, so I think BYUN has actually started to hold on. Zest not overcommitting this, however. He does have the Colossus on the way in the backfield, so he will be able to transition off to that. Actually, he canceled the Colossus. He's just going to go straight for this. BYUN a little bit... Now, he's still a little bit overtaxed here. He doesn't really have a ton of units to his name, and he can't really afford to get the reactors down. Still losing a lot of SCVs and did have to pull up his orbital commando, so that is a win for Zest. Funnily enough, though, Zest is only 2 workers ahead. All right. Looks like we've kind of stabilized here for BYUN. Actually going to chase this down, so Zest's going to try and get a couple of pickoffs. He will lose the Stalkers for it. Yeah, if Zest could do a little bit of a double prong here, that would work out much better for him, as BYUN's still a little bit low. Take a look at that army size. You can kind of see where these big fights have been happening. Now BYUN's starting to shoot ahead in terms of that army supply. His 133 to 117, almost 20 up. Almost gets the Warp Prism there. That would be a dangerous pickoff for BYUN. But now, like 2 ships passing in the night, the Stalker is going to be coming in. Wants to keep the repair down on that orbital. That is almost GG if that goes down. But BYUN doesn't even care. He's just going to go straight for a killing blow. And we are in a little bit of a space raid situation. Although Zest just going to recall his entire army. Going straight for the Colossus, though. BYUN is going to be able to pick off one of those. But unfortunately, he is going to be forced on back. He just doesn't have any Widow Mines with this army. No upgrade advantage, I believe. Yeah, not really any upgrade advantage. And he wasn't really able to do a lot with that. And now the Stalkers are going to be in position to kind of defend. Lifting up his main base. This is a really dicey situation for BYUN. All right, so this is one of the ways that BYUN can kind of work his way back. If he can kind of keep Zest's army, get the pickoffs while also getting this little bit of a double prong, he should be in a spot to kind of recover from this location. But it looks like he's just going to stay on the 2 bases. Zealots finding the army, but they're not really fighting in sync. So they will go down. Now joining up with the main army. That's going to be enough to kind of force BYUN back to this location. Although Zest has to be careful. He's actually very close to getting sandwiched. Looks like the Stalker's a very, very hefty blink there. He will lose quite a few of them. And now while BYUN is still a little bit ahead in terms of that army count, I think Zest is kind of just transitioning his way into victory here. As again, only just now starting to add in the Widow Mines. And Zest really just pile driving the fact home that BYUN doesn't have them. Scan going down, going to be looking for that army, but BYUN running on about half cylinder here. He's only got 1 full mining base as his natural, starting to mine out. And you can kind of see he's relying on the all-in at this point, only pumping out as many units as possible. But the unfortunate thing about that is that he just doesn't, he hasn't really done anything with it. He hasn't gotten any damage on the 3rd. He hasn't killed off a lot of the big tanky AoE units in the back. So as those numbers start to rise, Zest is just extending a lead. All right, going to go for a little bit of a Hail Mary here. That does mean most of his units aren't going to be at home to defend, while Zest is going to go on the counterattack. Nice Widow Mine connection, going to take down one of those Zealots. But Zest is just going to try and bait that forward. Again, the Zealots just running into the minefield, cleaning that up. BYUN a little bit hesitant to go into the main base, though. Unfortunately for him, that is almost going to cost him here as he loses the 3rd base position. He did lift up the natural, so he is going to be mining just a little bit. But actually, if he can get the Colossus, that is going to be his best option for victory. Good juggle right there, though, is going to keep that alive. And Zest, well, is going to be forced back, maybe? Nah, he does have enough here. Another warp in of Zealots will be enough to kind of clean this up. The Marauders in the back, though, going to make it difficult. And actually, BYUN wins the fight. Okay, never mind. Forget what I said. Wow. I was so wrong with that. Cast a curse all the way. Now, you see, the problem is with this, he does have a nice, healthy Marauder count, but he's not really making too much off the back of it. He doesn't really have the gas income to keep pumping them. So as he starts to lose these Marauders, the warp-ins for Zest are going to be pretty powerful, as it's just going to be Marines trying to reinforce. Yeah, the concave was pretty strong. Low kick XD on my part. Yeah, BYUN only mining on 1 base for the meantime. And he's still below 100 supply. Take a look at the army and the income. 1,600 in Zest's favor. You can kind of see where the mules are dropping. because it's helping him just a little bit. But yeah, once again, BYUN just going to try and counterattack here. That will force the recall from Zest, I feel. But Zest is going to get a lot of damage done before that happens. Trying to kill off the Nexus, trying to stop that recall, but we are in a full-on base trade situation. BYUN just going to lift on up and get out of there. He needs to get on top of the probes. That's going to be the most important thing for him, as Zest does have a nice, healthy bank to kind of remake himself here. He does kill off all the Nexus, however. Okay, you need to lift up the CC as well off the back of this. All the Nexus are done, so there is no recall on the way. The probes, though, have linked up with the main army, so they are going to be safe for the time being. They will be able to drop quite a few buildings around the map. But, yeah, this is... Oh, no. Okay, so that makes it a lot more difficult for BYUN, because he is going to have to spend some money to remake that base. And now he's trapped in Zest's main. Zest just wanted to kill off all the buildings, that's why no recall. Yeah, look at that. Both these players are going to mine here, I'd imagine. We do see the CC going down. He's going to leave the SCVs to their fate, kind of just keep the army away from them. But the Stalkers are going to be able to kind of hunt this down. Then down to over 100 supply. He's going to just try and take the fight. A lot of splash damage on him. The probes are pulled, and that's going to be it. I don't think that was honestly the best move there. He could have kind of just gone back to mining, as Zest had to reset as well. But I don't know. These guys do know best, so I guess he was kind of just going for that Hail Mary. Yeah, if BYUN had mined again, both players did reset, and BYUN still had a lot of his production alive, so he would have been in a much better situation there. But you know what? I am not going to... I'm not going to say what's going on in BYUN's mind. We are tied up, though, and still a lot left to go. So don't worry, guys. There is no match point here. It's not a best of 7. It is a best of 11. Double one. Yeah, uno, ichi, e. Isa. It's the only way I know how to say it there in those languages. But we are going to be hopping into game number 7. Romanticide is the last map before we reset the map pool. So let's see if these guys can do it. Spawning up here in the top position. He needs your energy. Send it his way. It is BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, the wave that never stops rolling, he is Zest. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in so far. It is always a pleasure to see so many people coming out to enjoy StarCraft 2. We've got two amazing players here, and they are definitely giving us quite the show. Our first base trade in 6 games. Still quite an opportunity for more more crazy shenanigans. But yeah, it doesn't look like anything too crazy out of these guys just yet. Obviously, Zest might be going Twilight Council once again, as it kind of been his right in this game, or in this series rather. Thank you, Kilowall, for the Twitch Prime subscription. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit before we really see anything too ramping up. It looks like Zest is actually going to be going for Stargate, just based off this positioning here. And I mean, the question is BYUN going to spot this? He does have his Reaper checking for proxies. He doesn't see up there on the high ground just yet, but he is going to be looking for it. And actually, no, he is not. He's just going to go straight for the natural here. So this will go undetected for the time being. Now the question is, will he have enough? If he's going for Widow Mines again in the early game, because he has been going sometimes for that mine drop play, he will be pretty safe. But we do see that he's going to be looking for the pylons. He hasn't seen them just yet, but yeah, he just needs to count them. If he doesn't see 3, that's kind of when the alarm bells start to ring in your head. So far, he hasn't seen them, so now he kind of knows that it's a proxy. Question is, what's his reaction going to be? So far, so good. Getting the tech lab down. So not going to be going for the Widow Mines. And without that Reaper, he's not going to be able to scout that out. But once he sees this Oracle, he does have enough Marines to kind of keep himself safe. And in fact, the Oracle just going to be a little bit hesitant to move in here. Only gets 1 SCV for his trouble. BYUN's got the double racks. Okay, so here's what BYUN is kind of trying to do here. He's kind of trying to do a bit of a 2-1-1 style here. A little bit delayed because he did want to go for the Cyclone just to be a bit more defensive. And from here, he's just going to be powering up, getting that stim. And we'll have to see if Zest is going to be able to get up a good unit count in time. He already does have the transition, which is good for him. Blink coming on out so that he will be pretty safe. But I mean, BYUN lives in the early to mid game, especially in TVP. This is his zone right now. It's really just Zest having to react for a few more minutes. All right. Looks like Zest wants to go for a bit of an attack here. Siege tanks just about to pop. This is about the time when BYUN wanted to be moving out. But here we go. Stim just about to complete. There are no Marauders with this army, though. Cyclone in the back going to just shoehorn its way down, but good blink going to save that. Just kind of smells blood in the water right now. Seeing that there are no siege tanks, that's going to prompt him to be a little bit more aggressive as he rotates towards the natural as well. Now, this is a little bit of a problem here because this style from BYUN kind of, I don't want to say forces you to be very aggressive. It just makes it so that you do need to get a little bit more done because you do kind of sacrifice, a little bit of time to get it all set up. But we do see Zest going home. He has scouted out the medevacs. That's going to try and chase them down. He does have a third base up and operational. So he will force a little bit of a defensive warp in. I'd say just go for the main from here. Instead, just going to go home. 5 workers, not too bad. Looking at it, he's going to go for a nice push off the back of this. Now, the medevacs are pretty much just to buy time, keep the Stalker's attention away from the move out here. I think, yeah, Zest has no idea that this is coming because his Stalkers are completely out of position right now. And that's going to allow BYUN to get a very aggressive siege up location. The Stalker is going to take some big connections. Look at the boys. They have joined the fight. Charge has been complete. So you need to get those SCVs in front to kind of tank those hits. Now, a little bit worried with how far back BYUN is keeping his siege tanks. You got to keep those with the main army. These Stalkers need to be picking off the reinforcements. The full-on bunker wall. Got to keep the Zealots down. Another big sim. There's not a lot of healing energy left, but I think BYUN has forced his way through. And there's still a few SCVs. Shield battery has been popped, but the Zealots not fighting in range of that. The third base is completely forfeit at this point. You are not going to save that. And as BYUN has built up this location, Zest is going to tap out. GG is called. Wow, okay. So that is the kind of position I was expecting out of BYUN there. You know, that's the kind of moves that I'd love to see from him. Yeah, he did have that economic advantage there, Clucky. I know what you meant. I got Google Translate too. Oh, Serbian. I thought that was Russian. Pretty cool. But yeah, Zest did have that big economic advantage, but once again, he was trying to do gateway style. And that's kind of was just a hard counter to, just a really hard counter to what BYUN was going for there. Now, from this point on, the map pool has reset. We still have 7 plus math. We still got 5 games left to play, so there's a lot of opportunity for Zest to come back into it. All maps are good to go, and we do see BYUN, if we come on into this game, spawning in the bottom position. This is BYUN, and his opponent up here in the top. This is Zest. And the reason I'm a little bit quicker on that intro is because we do see BYUN gonna be hiding some cheeky tech. His first proxy of the series, ladies and gentlemen. It's like baby's first steps. Except this is a grown man building a racks in a video game. All right, Zest. He's got to see this. All right, so Zest is gonna know something is up here, but the question is he gonna overreact? And the reason I ask that is because this isn't really a super committed proxy out of BYUN right now. It is just that one Reaper, and we should be seeing him drop the factory back at home. But if you're not careful as the Protoss player, you can kind of overreact, drop a ton of shield batteries, which just kind of slows you down. Excuse me. And you can kind of hurt yourself by throwing down a little bit too much unnecessary stuff. But now that he sees the factory, he knows that this isn't really too committed out of BYUN, I would say. But this is nice because it will allow him to kind of poke down some of those probes. Not going to get any kills though. Zest way too on top of his micro for that. This guy's just like a prisoner. It's kind of funny because BYUN's such a kind of memey player when you watch him on ladder. Because one of the things that he loves to do is kind of just interact with the audience quite a bit, and kind of troll his opponent. And you kind of saw that there with the supply depot coming up and down. It was giving the probe some hope that he will be able to get out of there and go back home to his family. But unfortunately, he had to phone home for a ride. Alright, so Zest got the Stargate coming down. He's got the Robo facility as well. So while he is going for Phoenix here, I kind of like the fact that he's not going to be over-committing to Phoenix play. That's kind of one of the things that can kill you versus a Terran player, is just focusing too hard on that air army early on, especially versus a player like BYUN. So the fact that we do have the Phoenix coming out in smaller batches does mean that he's going to be safe versus the Medivacs. And as he transitions, hopefully into Colossus pretty soon here. Yeah, he should transition into those pretty soon. Excuse me one sec, guys. All right. So with the Medivacs kind of cleaned up on the other side, the Widowmine drops not getting anything done. Now the Phoenix are kind of just going to dance around here. But unfortunately, a little bit of a misstep for Zest. He's going to get the Raven, but now those Phoenix are going to be a lot less effective. He took so much damage and even lost one. Oh, man, that was not really the best trade. So now, BYUN, he still doesn't have his third base up. He's just now going to be throwing that down a little bit later. But yeah, we see both players just kind of powering up. Zest does got the Colossus out now. So BYUN has to be careful not to kind of sacrifice his early game advantages. And that's kind of the thing. He wants to get something done. He wants to kind of pick off some of these Colossus, keep that count low. He wants to get... I guess the best way to put it would be... he wants to kind of just dive on top of the Colossus, because if you can pick off those big expensive units for the Protoss, then you're gonna really cement yourself a pretty good lead. There we go. The drops kind of just flying around. And now here we go. A little bit of double prong. This is the BYUN that we see. All right, so going to go straight for the pickoffs there. The Phoenix are going to be able to chase this down, but he's just... Like, I think at that point, you got to be careful just because the Phoenix are still flying around, but getting the Robo facility is pretty nice. Look at that move. Hallucinated Zealots, just so that he can clean up those Widow Mines. And now Zest survives. He only lost the pylon there, so not the... Actually, never mind. He lost the Robo facility, too. What am I saying? So, now BYUN is going to start getting his tech up. He's got the Vikings to deal with the Colossus. Although he's going to have a lot more Colossus to deal with, as we got 3 additional Robo facilities. It's like a Hydra. Now BYUN just going to be rotating around, looking for any sort of opening, but Zest has his numbers, so BYUN will have to get on out of there. Small Zealot run by going to be going across as well. BYUN a little bit out of position for it with his reinforcements. And I mean, from here, Zest really has the opportunity to kind of power up with that 4th base in a nice, safe location. Yeah, have a good night, Size Matters. But the 4th base is in a safe location right there next to the main base, so it's a little bit easier to defend. I mean, from here, BYUN not really able to get any damage done. Hopefully, though, he can start to do that as he starts to add in the additional ghosts. We're only just now seeing that Templar Archives kind of transition in. So, BYUN a little bit ahead in that regard. Disruptors, though. I'm kind of, honestly, I'm still a little bit worried for BYUN. He does have a very nice army supply. He's almost maxed out. And we do see he's going to be going for a bit of a run-by. But Zest still has a lot of cards in his favor. He's kind of just staying back, playing it a little bit more defensive, but that's helping him, I feel. Just because BYUN is really slow to kind of get that economic focus up, only just now getting a 4th base this late into the game. Zest is just a little bit faster on the tech transitions. All right. Oh no, he lost quite a few. He lost a couple of the ghosts with that last disruptor drop, and that's going to be the problem here for him. As he only has a couple. The Zealot run by, not going to get too much done with the wall, but it is going to force BYUN to come back home. He does have a small army over here, just waiting to pounce. But again, Zest is just in the perfect couple of positions to kind of intercept. Both players are maxed out and starting to build up that bank pretty nicely, though. So we'll have to see. It's going to come down to a really big fight. Problem is, Zest is going up to carriers, and once he gets that large carrier count, I just don't know if BYUN will have the units to stop them. I mean, he does have the Vikings, which is nice, but it's very taxing to deal with carriers. He's going to get +3, though. Denied. That is a nice start. Oh, man, those interceptors are actually getting healed up. And this drop is going to get cleaned up. We see BYUN going to try and dive on top of the Colossus, but not going to get it either. And so now BYUN with a... he is going to try and hit this location, but Zest, a little bit ahead of schedule in cleaning this, in fixing this, is going to be in position, and BYUN having to back up. His supply has dropped. Like, look at that. Now, he does get a couple of decent connections there on the Stalkers, but you still have those disruptors forcing him back. You can't really fight effectively into these choke points anymore. Zest still completely maxed out. So we do see quite a few Vikings in the production tab. I just hope that he can utilize them efficiently. Now, unfortunately, he's between a rock and a hard place here. The Vikings going to get taken down before they can join up the army. The Ghosts trying to cover the retreat, and he's trying to dive on top of the Disruptors, but he's taking so much damage in doing so. And now, unfortunately, that's a good chunk of his army in those medevacs, and they are going to start to fall. A couple of Stalkers going to be warped into the main base. Actually, that's not going to be enough. There we go. The Zealots coming in, though, will be. Now Zest kind of just saying, whatever, you can have this small drop. I'm just going to hit you with the force of 1,000 suns. Great concave for BYUN across the map, though. The carrier's raining away. There's not really that much anti-air left. It's just pure Marauders on the ground. SCVs are being pulled to kind of segment. While the ground army for Zest has gone down, there's just nothing really to stop the carriers in the sky, as the Marines not going to be able to get into a high enough number to deal with them. And it looks like as BYUN's production is completely destroyed here, he's just going to tap out. He did come over here for just a second to try and get something done, but Zest tying up the series once again. We are going into game number 8. I gotta say, this is fun. It's an ace match all the way. Excuse me one second. Zest, Clevin. I'd like to remind you guys as well, Raid Shadow Legends is our sponsor for today's event. We are pretty close to our goal. Only 6 level 10 raiders left. That takes about 15 minutes. So if you want to join the raid, go ahead and hit !raid in the chat and use that link. That's going to give you quite a few benefits, like 100,000 silver, which will get you started on your journey. I think you get a hero as well. Yeah, you actually get Adjudicator with your redemption as well. And Adjudicator is a pretty strong hero, I've got to say. I've been using her a bit. But with over 400 heroes to collect, what kind of hero will you be? And now with that plug out of the way, let's introduce our players in game number 8, or 9 rather. Spawning in the top position of Submarine, he is BYUN. And up here in the top position, or bottom position rather, he is Zest. Now, BYUN is going to be popping back to some of his old tricks. We do see, is this going to be moving in a pretty strange pattern as well? Not going to go through the center of the map, but that is just going to be for some scouting information. And so he will see once again that it is going to be this one racks into factory style. So that's going to give him a lot of information. It's going to allow him to stay pretty darn safe. And now, Submarine's a bit of a shorter map. So that's one thing to really note here. It does favor the more aggressive player, which in this case has really been BYUN. But I think Zest has really, in the games that he's beaten BYUN, he's just really kind of dialed it in on BYUN's weaknesses. And by that, I really do mean that he's kind of getting those transitions in. He's fixing his playstyle as the series goes on, I think is the best way to put it. You know, switching it up from that gateway style early on into going back into Colossus, which is kind of making it so that BYUN can't be as aggressive as he would like. Alrighty, we're going to see a couple of probe kills here, it looks like, before the Stalker does shoo this away. Now, BYUN does delay his Nexus, or CC, just a little bit here, going for this. So that's going to allow Zest to get a little bit of an economic lead. Hi, password SC2. Welcome to the chat. Nice. 4 kills. Okay, the big question is, did he see the Stargate? He did. But did he click on it is the most important thing, because that could be Twilight Council, that could be Robo Facility, that could literally be anything in the world. And I mean, I'm really liking that out of BYUN there, getting 5 worker kills early on. That's some really nice damage for the cost of only 2 Reapers. Just taking a look at the units lost here. I'd take that return any day. Alright, so he's going to be a little bit aggressive with the double Cyclone. That's just going to keep him a little bit safe here. It's only Oracle for the time being. We don't see Zest going into any Phoenix behind it. So the transition into Blink does mean we are going to see no Phoenix anymore. Yeah, we see BYUN trying to kind of stay ahead of Zest this time in terms of economy. Zest has been ahead on getting that third Nexus very, very quickly in a good majority of these games. The last time we did see BYUN go for a more greedy third CC as well, which really just kind of cost him for Zest, but now this is a lot safer for him. It allows him to get those siege tanks up so that he stays completely safe against the Blink play that's coming across against him. I mean, from here, does Zest blink in? That's going to be the big question, because that is going to be a very risky blink. As we've seen Zest get a little bit overzealous about his blink sometimes, and that just really costs him so much. Alright, so that's just going to be like a shark waiting on the outskirts of town. Going to be waiting for BYUN to kind of pick up his army and go. I think one of BYUN's favorite times to move in is usually when he's about to toss down his third CC on location, because what that allows you to do is it keeps the pressure off while you get that kind of established. But he does have that ready to go whenever he wants. Yeah, Zest is just ready to pounce. But he does have Colossus coming in the backfield, which is really nice for him. He's obviously not going to rely on the gateway style again. This is kind of just like a Mexican standoff almost. As neither side really wants to blink. We do see, no pun intended, by the way. Looks like Zest got a little bit overzealous there. Takes one shot from those siege tanks. And BYUN really taking advantage of this faster third CC. Taking a look at that worker supply. He's up 63 to 51, and with mules, that's just really skyrocketing it in his favor. So, like when he does decide to move out, it's going to be that much more powerful of a build, because once BYUN starts to get that momentum going, once he starts to kind of trade efficiently, he's just really hard to dislodge even without siege tanks. He just really starts to get those trades, which are so favorable to him, and that's kind of his death by 1,000 cut strategy. Raven's still alive as well, so he can shut down the Colossus. That used to be an Adept. So now BYUN really does have to make his kind of decision here. He is out on the map, ready to go, but if he doesn't kind of start forcing the issue soon, Zest is just going to be able to power up and get that kind of army. And it does look like BYUN is going to get caught with a huge chunk of his units, and that is terrible form. The Stalkers blink on top, and oh my god, that was terrible. Oh, so BYUN, he still has that army supply lead here, but that was just a huge pickup for Zest. And now going up to his 4th base, BYUN might have stayed home a little bit too long. Zest has so many different tools at his disposal right now. He's got the High Templar. He has the Archons morphed on in, and he's going to get those Disruptors, which is really going to help him take those engagements in the choke points, because as we've seen, BYUN likes to kind of force his way, force you into fighting in those locations. So the Disruptors are going to be very good for kind of dislodging BYUN from those locations. And now we do see that he has Ghost on the way with the Static Shock EMP upgrade, but I don't know, Kev. The longer this game goes on, the better it's looking for Zest. Yeah, Enhanced Shockwave is the name of the upgrade. But here we go. BYUN just going to dive right on top. Tries to get the Nexus. There is a lot here, but he will be able to get that. No Stalkers to stop him. So already pretty that's nice, but he didn't get any of the probes. He didn't really kill off any of the army, so you can't really you can't really call that a win, because Zest is just going to throw that down, and he still has pretty much everything. So the more units you trade away for stuff like that, the worse it's going to be for you, although that was a really nice move, or a really nice siege tank shot right there. Dorito Cannon going to be forced off as well. Viking is going to just shell away at the Colossus. Disruptors going to get on top of the siege tanks, takes one of them out, and will kind of dislodge here, but BYUN going for a huge counterattack, gets a bunch of those Disruptors, forces the defensive warp in, and that's going to take away a lot of Zest's offensive capability. And now, since there's no force fields, BYUN can almost safely retreat. Although he's losing some of those ghosts in the process. Scan gonna go down, revealing that BYUN is safe for another day. And yeah, he does stim quite a bit. He does have a lot of healing energy with this army, so that's gonna help him. But yeah, once again, he's kind of turtling right now. You know, it kind of reminds me of Maru with how hard he's going right here, and that kind of makes sense because the two are very good friends. I'm sure they practice quite a bit. Looks like he's going to force the recall back at home. BYUN once again going to stim on forward. Going to get some nice pickoffs already, taking down the robo facilities. Huge EMPs as well. This is the fight that BYUN really wants to take, getting some very cost-effective trades here. And now he can kind of get out of there, although he does lose a full medevac. 13 probes going down, even more to follow. Yeah, this is the BYUN. This is what BYUN needs to do. He needs to keep this kind of pressure on. And while Zest does have quite a few splash and AoE units left in terms of these Colossus, in terms of these Disruptors, he's not going to be making any more here. Dorito Cannon going to be going down, so those siege tanks going to get some even better connections. The Zealots, though, pushing their way forward. And while Zest will be able to clean up this location, does he have enough to actually kill off a planetary? As BYUN is going to be able to take down that location. The reinforcements going to be kind of trickling in here. Not necessarily a base race situation. But remember, the robo facilities are actually gone. So every Colossus, every Disruptor that you lose, that's pretty much it for what you have. You're not going to be given the time to remake those. Now he does still have quite a few Immortals, and he did take down a bunch of the SCVs. So BYUN going to be hurting in terms of that income, but he does already have the additional Orbital. And I mean, the reinforcements are going to be enough to push this back. We've kind of had a hard reset here. And yeah, I wasn't expecting that much damage either. But you are correct. Zest is starting to kind of mine out of these bases. He's only long distance mining because he can't really afford to drop down that additional Nexus. I don't know what BYUN is really expecting. That is a very far location to go, and that's actually going to mean he's going to lose that Orbital. But if anything, it's going to bait some of these Stalkers away from the main fight. Now, Zest still has a very scary army supply here. BYUN needs to trade very efficiently. And here we go. A lot of splash going down. Force field's going to force a lot of this army away. Gets one full medevac. Stalker's going to get some really nice pickoffs on the siege tank as well. So most of BYUN's supply is in these medevacs. I gotta say, I feel like BYUN, he had this game really in the bag, but unfortunately for him, he just wasn't able to close it out, and Zest rebuilt a lead. You know, though, as long as BYUN can keep these 6 ghosts alive, those EMPs are really going to help out against the Archons, which are kind of the big big money unit for this army. See, he's kind of scanning, looking for the observers. Not really going to find them as he lifts up the main base. BYUN running a little bit dry as well. But there are mules in the equation. Here we go, though. This is Zest going to try and attack here. EMP is going down over the crux of this army. I think a huge disruptive shot just happened right there. And we do see that Liberator sieging up in the bottom position, getting quite a few probe kills. Zest's attention is all the way here. I don't think that's going to be enough for him. The Archons start to fall. But then now with another big warp in of Zealots, there's still quite a few Archons. I don't know, the siege tank's still getting some really nice connections. And actually, it looks like BYUN might just barely have enough here. Yeah, he barely has enough, and he's able to clean up, but he lost so many workers in that fight. He's going to have to rely on mules for a lot of his mining right now. Man, what is this game? Yeah, whatever BYUN has right here is going to be pretty much most of his army for a long time. He just really needs to rebuild that worker count. I don't even know if it's the best option to attack in here. The Liberators, though, are going to even up the score. The Archon does go down to it. And that was the worst fight you could have taken as Zest. And GG is called. And BYUN squeaks out of victory. You know what? I think that was pretty much a game of baseball with how many throws there were. Oh my goodness. You know what? I don't even know if I could call that a win. Um, that was more a loss than it was a win. But for game number 10, we're going to be heading into Jagannatha. And yeah, that is a good point, Bike Rush. I'm sure that these players are kind of starting to be a little bit tired. You know, they have been playing for a long time, not just in this cup, but they've also been pretty active during the day as well. Oh, it's a lot later than midnight. Actually, what time is it? Current time, Korea. Yeah, about midnight plus 33, so about 12:33. Yeah, this is kind of the point where you have to dig down deep and find the hardest way to play. Now let's get these introductions out of the way. Spawning up in the top corner. He is technically on match point, but there are still 2 games to play. Give it up for BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom. He is down, but he is certainly not out. It is Zest. So you know what? BYUN has just said, to heck with the societal norms. Buildings, I am Terran. I do not need pylons to build my buildings wherever the heck I want. And so he's just going to dump down another racks down there in the bottom position of the map. Zest does see that this is going on. And from here, we should see a little bit more of the same. I would love to see BYUN kind of go for that faster third CC again. The more safe one with the factory and siege tank production off the back of it, because that's going to allow him, or really on this map, there's a lot more room to kind of make that work. You know, it's just really hard to kind of reinforce your army as you're moving across, though. So we'll have to see if BYUN is going to be able to take care of business in this one. That's just being a little bit of a nuisance here, keeping the wall up so that he can actually get out. All right, so far some good. Micro going to save as many of these probes as possible. Really good micro from Zest there, I gotta say. He is finally going to start losing them, but I mean, overall, not as much as BYUN could have done. Oh no, looks like Zest is going to be going for a very aggressive playstyle here. Wants to punish BYUN for his transgressions, and I mean, he's not going to be building any Marines anytime soon, as his Rex is just slowly meandering its way back, so he's going to have to rely on these siege tanks. I'm not 100% sure about this. Really, for either side. Now with that siege tank up, it's just going to be really impossible for Zest to kind of force his way through. The Reaper, I think, did get taken down, so that's not going to be a factor here, really. Although you got to be careful. You're actually going to clean up your own wall if you're not careful. So now the siege tank under fire. He's going to have to rely on the Cyclone. Zest is in the base. Oh, God. This is a welcome to the North American server, ladies and gentlemen. Clown Fiesta has begun. Now, Zest did invest quite a bit into this. It didn't really pan out for him too well, but, I mean, at the same time, he's just going to keep the hits rolling. DT Shrine, Robo Facility, a couple of additional gateways. Unfortunately, I do think BYUN is going to be going for a Raven again. So we'll have to see how much damage he can get with the DTs. Honestly, I don't even know if that's really the best move here for Zest, because the thing is, BYUN is a little bit slowed down already with this. So, you know, you have a lot of opportunity to kind of just play normally and get super far ahead. Now, BYUN did do kind of what I saw. Oh, no worries, Simon, AJ Riley. I will let Alpha X know this is the kind of content you guys want to see. And don't worry, we got tons of great content coming out, not just now, but in the next year. Our New Year's resolution is to give you nothing but the best StarCraft 2. So BYUN has a Reaper here, and he's still back at home with a good chunk of his army, so I don't really think these DTs are going to get too much done. Might get the siege tank though. That's a pretty nice pickup. That's going to delay and delay any sort of push. Alright, so just going to morph in some Archon drops as well. Both sides just kind of powering up a little bit. Zest, the best defense for him is a good offense, and I think that's kind of what he's going for in this game. Just trying to get these little bits of harassment done here and there while trying to keep BYUN back, because once BYUN loses momentum in a game, it's really hard for him to kind of get it back. Yeah, it kind of feels like BYUN's never tired. I agree with that, because the thing is, even before he went out for his military service, he would just play so many different tournaments in a day. As the Archon drop going to be coming in here. Oh no, if he gets a connection on those clumped up SCVs, that would have been really bad. But as I was saying, even back when I first started kind of casting him in the NA Open Cup, he would play like 6 or 7 online tournaments a day before he won everything over at BlizzCon, and it was just really fun to see him play. It's just like he's the Energizer Bunny. You know, never slows down. All right. So that's going to be moving out. His army's a little bit too small to really break this location. He does have a lot of AoE with the additional Archons, as BYUN going to be going for a little bit of a drop as well. There is game music. Is it a little bit too hard to hear? I can always turn it up if you guys need it. Oh, that would have been a pretty nice snipe here, as BYUN's going to be setting up for a little bit of a double prong harassment here. As Zest going up to 4 bases, acceleration field. And now this is going to be really good. If BYUN can kind of make this work, he does pick up the Warp Prism, which is amazing because that's going to slow down any sort of harassment that Zest gets. Which does mean that BYUN is going to be able to explode back onto that 4 bases. I mean, BYUN, he's just... I feel like he's just doing this... Like, I feel like he's just being a little bit too passive with his army. Like, he hasn't really done any damage. He did send the Raven out to get a couple of kills earlier, but that's about it. I mean, look at this. Most of those were actually against the Reaper. Oh, sure. Definitely. There we go. All right, here we go. The Widow Mine's getting a couple of decent connections, but that was all just a feint. The 4th base is, or the 5th base, or yeah, 4th base is going to fall. 8 workers killed, and now BYUN just feels like he can get out of there. That's the kind of thing that he needs to do. And now he just has to be very careful not to trade inefficiently against the against the army of Zest coming across the map. We do see a couple of nice pickoffs there, however. So Zest is going to take the supply lead and the army count lead. So that was the play that BYUN really needs to do. He kind of just needs to whittle down his opponent a little bit more if he wants to keep this game rolling. We might be seeing a air transition pretty soon. As that Widow Mine getting another connection. Excuse me one sec, guys. Apologize for this. Sorry, another very long coughing fit. But the Stalker's going to try and get on top of this. Not really going to get the best connections here as BYUN's going to trade pretty efficiently for it. But here we go. BYUN going to get the better of that fight, but there is still so many carriers in the sky. Not really that many Vikings with this army. Okay, not the best disruptor hit here, but there's still more than enough. BYUN's supply is starting to plummet, and unfortunately he's on move command here, so he will have to tap out of this location. Gets cleaned up on this side as well. Going to send the medevac back in. The Vikings have to be careful here because they're still very needed to clean up the carriers. But BYUN is stuck in his own bases. Does get a pretty nice trade down there. I gotta say that was pretty nice. No Rana. I've just been casting so much that my throat is dead. Just like BYUN might be dead in this situation, that's the disruptor getting a massive connection right there. GG is called, and you know what, guys? That means we are going to an ace match. We were gonna play these. We were gonna play all 11 games anyway, but the fact that it's an ace match is awesome. So don't forget, guys, after this, we're going to be playing a little bit of a little sponsored content and raid. Shadow Legends going to get up to that 30 level 10 raiders. We're going to make it. But, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I wouldn't have it any other way with the best community in StarCraft 2. For our last map, it is Pillars of Gold. And you know what? We're going to make this the most energetic last game ever. The problem with that last game is BYUN. He got some good connections. He got some really good snipes. He was able to kill off the 4th base, keep Zest down and low, but he just gave him way too much time to kind of get back into it. And once you let a Protoss player get back into that situation, you're going to have a bad time. That's all I can really say about it. And you know what, guys? I think you can hear that in the background. The countdown has begun. And so for our last map, we're actually going back to where it all began. Let me get the scores up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's raise the energy. Let's raise the power. Spawning in the top position in the red trunks. He is the terror of Ire. He is BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is the King Killer himself. Give it up for Zest. So now, with everything to play for, there is so much that you got to be thinking about in this series. Both of these guys going to take home a pretty nice little payday because they are paid by map win. So obviously that's going to help them out quite a bit. But they, you know what? It's not about the money. It's about sending a message that Protoss, best of 1. It says best of 11. But now with everything to play for, I feel like these players are just going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at each other. Because that's really all you can do in this situation. There is no reason to hold back. You know, they are tired, but they are tired. They have weakened their play just a little bit. They feel like their hands are about to fall off, and I'm telling you, that it is not easy to play a long series like this. Even in a best of 3, I get tired. So imagine what these guys are going for, who actually have APM. Top 2, you know what? Top anything is still a very good achievement. Platinum is still like better than about 50 to 60% of players in SC2, so it is still an achievement no matter what rank you guys are. Always be proud of how far you've come, because we all had to start at the bottom at some point. Now, Zest is going back to what he knows best. Going into that Twilight Council here, BYUN just wants to get a little bit more scouting information, but he's not going to be able to get up there. So it looks like we're going to be seeing Widowmine drops. And this is one of the things. Like, I do feel like BYUN needs to be a little bit more aggressive with his early game damage. He has to get that early game, because Zest, he's been going for these early third bases. He's been exploding in terms of his economy, and from there, he's really just kind of whittling BYUN down in the games that he's won. There we go. He's seen that it is indeed Blink. So off the back of these Widow Mines, actually he's a little bit supply block there. Small mistake. That's going to slow him down a little bit. But now that he sees it's Blink, he can know off the back of these Widow Mines, he wants to go for some sort of splash damage to kind of keep himself safe. As a Pillars of Gold does have a pretty nice location where you can blink in. And one thing to note about this map as well is you do have the kind of safer third base here in the back. It's not going to be really good to take the more aggressive location. But yeah, here we go. We do have the Stalkers in position, and I guess he kind of sussed this out as the Phoenix is going to be looking for the medevac. Not going to find it, however. So it's really just going to be a matter of when does BYUN decide to move in with that. Yeah, there you go. Going to try and distract Zest with the Reaper. Even getting a nice cheeky little kill there. Right, so both players just going to be powering up. It looks like the Widow Mine's still not being utilized. And I don't know. I think now that the Stalkers are kind of out of the way, going for a bit of a soft contain, that's really the kind of time when you can make this going. It looks like Zest, though, is getting that gateway explosion. He's sending the Warp Prism across the map, so I don't know, Kev. He might be going a little, not all in, but a little crazy here. BYUN does move out, catches the Stalkers, but they do blink away. And now that's kind of BYUN's time to strike. The Stalkers do warp in to stop this, but Zest is paying attention. Might lose the medevac. Oh, BYUN not paying attention, but the Widowmine does drop. So it will get one little connection here. The Zealots getting about 4 worker kills, but the reinforcement is going to be enough to clean that up. Zest pretty much only has gateway units at this point and an Immortal. So now BYUN kind of just going to rotate around. Once again, he can find this location, and this is kind of the breeding ground for BYUN damage. Put your units there. Unfortunately, though, BYUN's going to sacrifice quite a few of his workers to go into the main base, and the Warpins will force him back. Now, does BYUN have a third base? It doesn't look like it just yet. It's a little bit late to kind of build one up. Never mind, there it is. Like to remind everyone, keep it civil in the chat. Some argument is okay because there are a lot of different opinions, but let's keep it StarCraft related, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, Warpers, I'm going to try and get in there, but it will not be able to do so. BYUN, he did get out of there with a good chunk of his units, and taking a look at the army supply, he is still ahead. So he's not really falling behind here, but Zest still has had that third base for a much longer time. His worker count a lot healthier, I would say. Looks like BYUN's trying to hunt down that warp prism as well. Did he get it? Okay, he actually got it. But now I like his army composition, because once again, Zest has been late to the Colossus transition. He doesn't have any with his army. So as long as you can kind of keep the Widowmines back and kind of bait the Zealots to charging forward, you're going to be able to take a really good engagement here. And in fact, he's just going to say to heck with it. Force field's going to be going down, but Zest out of position, and BYUN just going to unload his entire army in the main base. Honestly, I don't know if that was the best decision here. The Widowmine's doing a little bit more harm than good. But he still has the Widowmines going to cover his retreat, so he's going to be able to keep this location safe. The Zealots tried to go in here, but they didn't really find a third base. And now, the Widowmine's getting some awesome connections against the Stalkers. If you can take out the Cybernetics core as well, that's going to help you on this escape. The Zealots now dead. There's not really that much to buffer, but as the Stalkers get their blink-off cooldown, BYUN will have to retreat, and his army is completely bruised and battered. So unfortunately, I don't think the drop was the right move there. If he could have kind of kept Zest away from the main base for just another second or two, maybe it would have been a little bit more effective for him. But we still do have a small period of time where these are the only Stalkers left. Okay, that time's done. Never mind. Now BYUN going once again for this big, scary Doom drop, but oh no, the Stalkers are in position. So BYUN just going to have to kind of rotate his way down. Now Zest, to BYUN's credit, has not gone up to a fourth base here, so BYUN is still ahead in terms of the income, and he is going to be able to kind of chase down these Stalkers for a bit. But you have to be careful not to engage into this army without the full force of what you have. Zest a little bit out of position here, though, for this attack coming into the third base, but he does pull back a little small bunch of his army. Now, one of the things I worry about with BYUN is sometimes he does kind of sacrifice his late game to try and get that early to mid game win, and I know I kind of say that a lot, but I mean, from here he does kind of have that transition going, which is pretty nice for him. The problem is he is still on only 1-1, just now getting 2-1. So I really hope that doesn't come back to bite him in the tuchus here. as Zest completely maxed out. BYUN only on 158 supply. The Zealots do get cleaned up here. This is a really nice concave. I have to be careful not to engage into the force fields too heavily there. But Zest is going to be able to just continuously rotate around these locations. We're going to get a cancel on BYUN's 5th base, or 4th base rather. EMP is going to blanket the army. Zest, to his credit, he's playing it cautiously, just trying to make sure that he doesn't throw away a lead. But BYUN still down over 30 supply. Here we go. Zest going to dive on top. The Vikings going to try and get on top of the Colossus, but they are forced back. Zest once again going to get most of his Zealots cleaned up. But here we go. The Colossus starting to fall. It needs to focus fire those down. That is really the kingpin of this army. Once those die, BYUN will be able to hold a little bit more. SCV's pulled off the line. I don't know. I think Zest might not be able to clean up here anymore. So even in terms of the units lost. So Zest kind of bobbling the fight a little bit. It was his to lose. He's going to send the Stalkers out, just trying to do what he can. At this point, I don't know. Wow. That is a ballsy bet there. Looks like it's ballsy sending those Archons forward. They are going to get blanketed by the EMPs. The Vikings get some really good connections there, one-shotting the Colossus. So that's going to be a lot of splash damage that is gone from the fight, but BYUN overextending on one side a little bit. Going to get taken down on the flank. Zest completely maxed out once again. And unfortunately, he really doesn't have any splash damage here to help him out. Widowmine's not really in a big enough number. SCVs are going to be pulled to kind of tank for him. But here we go. As the last Colossus falls, there is still a lot of splash damage done in these Archons. 21 workers have fallen as BYUN's economy goes to the crapper. It is going to be GG. Zest takes home the gold.